Okay, so I guess let me forewarn you, I'm a programmer. I've been doing it ever since I was like 12, and I'm not a speaker, so you have to bear with me. So basically, you know, this is LapSync. It's me and Michael. We've been flying together for probably 10 years or more. I've been in RC since been around it since I was a kid. I think I got my first RC airplane when I was like 13, and then girls came along. I took a break for a few years, and then got back into it when I was in my 20s. But anyway, about a year ago, or actually I guess about 3 years ago, I put some FPV goggles on, and I was like, wow. And I started flying all kinds of stuff, airplanes, quads. He kept daring me to fly a 700 with, you know, a 90 size, yeah, a 90 size helicopter with some goggles on. I was like, it's a little bit much money to be doing that with. But anyway, so, and of course, when I first started coming out of the field, you know, with that stuff, they all would give me grief and, you know, where's your helicopters? And finally, now that's pretty much all we take to the field anymore is our racing quads. And last year we bought a timing system, and I guess it was last fall. Yep. And the software that came with the TrackMate system is purely lacking. I mean, it just sucked. And then there's other software out there on the internet that we did try when we bought our system, and it was either too complicated or just didn't do, you know, a race. And so
I got to add some truth to that story first, because he's not going to say it. So we started playing with this software that came with it, and I downloaded a couple others and playing with it at home. So he pops off at the field and goes, "That sucks, I can do better." I said, "I dare you, I don't think you can." The next weekend, LapSync was out there. Nice. Okay, not as its current iteration. I mean, it's been feedback from all you guys, from us, that has, you know, made it grow. Chris said, "No, I want to do this," and the other guys on the internet said, "No, let's do this," and we made a bunch of changes, or James made a bunch of changes. I kept them straight for you. But the next weekend, James had a working system. We ran a race with it. Okay, so it's come a long way.
But anyways, and so the point is that, yeah, I mean, I started it as a system to run a race. I mean, kind of like my envision is that you'd click a button and it would just run a race. And you click, so you start it, you end it, and then we've actually got logic here where it'll build B mains and A mains based on pilot counts and stuff. That really doesn't come into play when you're running a MultiGP race, because currently their APIs don't let me push rounds and heats to them that LapSync creates. So, but that hopefully will come in the future, not too distant future. But anyway, so I guess let me kind of show you around here. This, well, let me cover this real quick. This is our wireless system. So I saw somebody on one of the groups, I guess it was the chapter organizers group, talk about the XB system, and that they created it and it works awesome and everything, and that I think it was like $150 to create one of those. And so I got to thinking about it, and I was like, hey, you know, these old 3D robotics telemetry radios, they send serial data back and forth. Why couldn't somebody use one of those? So I found a set off of eBay for like 20 bucks, and then used the same serial host adapter, which is where the system plugs in right here. That turns the serial data back in from USB back to serial, so the radio can send it out. That was like 25 bucks from a UK website. So I think all in, I got maybe 50 bucks in it.
And the TrackMate, what do you call that thing?
The decoder.
Decoder plugs in down here. So
yeah,
your Cat5 cable plugs into that, into your gate.
Yeah, and so just like we got on ours, looks like you said, kind of like a pipe bomb. It's got an antenna sticking out it, the Ethernet cable at the bottom plugging into the gate, and then a battery plugged in. And we use a 3-cell 5000 with a 5-volt regulator. That's the right there, 5-volt regulator. And that thing's powered it all weekends. And you know, still have 50% in the battery.
That battery yet.
Yeah, so.
A couple miles.
Yeah, with the stock antennas, I was able to get at least, you know, through trees probably a quarter of a mile. So.
Yeah, I mean, it'll do our whole field. So anywhere we want to put the gate, we're happy.
Yeah, you got a question?
933 or 915?
This one's 915, but you could use either.
Can you put the schematics on there for other people to?
Yeah, I created a video, and it's on my the LapSync group. If you're a member of it, if you're not, just request to join. I made it. It's a public group, but you gotta request to join just to keep spammers out.
And it's on Thingiverse too. The print part and the pieces are on there too.
Yeah, and the design of the gate. That's Michael's design. Like I said, when we started a year ago with the timing system, we went through a bunch of different iterations of even a gate. And we found this design is pretty awesome. I mean, we have hardly any misreads.
And it's usually pilot error when we have misreads.
And we put the timing gate on the exit side of a MultiGP gate. So the MultiGP gate kind of protects it. And you don't want to put it in a turn, you want it on a straight line.
Straight through it.
So they'll go straight through it. Yeah, because we had it on a UTT3 course, and we noticed it was getting a lot of misreads because you go through the start gate at a turn.
Guys, yawn through the gate to try to turn to go another way, and you got to go straight through.
And
We do.
We've had other misreads where the transponders, the LEDs point straight out the back or straight out the top or whatever. We're like, no, it needs to point out the side, guys.
Yeah.
So.
And we do a lot of racing with Brain Drain, Brian Morris, and he was the one that, you can't put it in a corner because he's on his side through the gate. Like, dude,
He's
level
starting
out.
before he gets to the gate.
Yeah. It's like, why is it not picking him up? It never reads him. And then looking, oh, it's because he's going through the gate on the side. But anyway, so basically, I just kind of open it here, and I mean, right out of the gate, when you open it, it starts in what is called a practice mode.
All right, first question. When you guys run it, you made a post about how many laps you did over the weekend.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Was it in practice mode the entire time?
Well, okay, so that was for so the current version sends laps to a server every lap. So anybody that's running it, if they have internet, it'll record the lap. So last weekend on Saturday, or actually Saturday and Sunday, it recorded almost 18,000 laps. Okay. Or I'm sorry, 1,800. Wow. 1,800 laps for Saturday and Sunday. That was, yeah, I mean, I'm thinking,
Amateur.
Yeah, so right now, I'm sure most of you have seen as your chapter organizers that on the website there's a place there for laps. And right now it's sending laps based on race. And hopefully in the future that'll be based on heat so that you can look. I mean, because with all this data, we could send this to multigp.com and people could look at the data exactly like it's presented here on multigp.com. Any way they want to. Who had the fastest lap per heat? Who, what was my total time per heat? Those kind of. But anyway, like I said, open it up. It's in. It starts in practice mode. This is a TrackMate system. TrackMate sends a message every second, so I can look at the bottom of the screen, kind of in the center there, and it says TrackMate message.
1310.
Yep. So that should go up every second, and that tells me I'm getting data from the gate. iLapse doesn't do that, so you have to kind of pass something in front of the gate to make sure it's open and working. But so the practice mode, all you have to do is open it and it'll start picking up.
Vaporware has passed the gate.
So I mean, that's all you got to do. Plug it in, open it up, and now you're doing a UTT or practice or whatever. And pilots, they can see what their lap times are. We take this to the field with us. Actually, we have like Michael was saying, we've had our field for 7 years, so we've got a 40-foot Connex. All this gear stays in the Connex. So this I pull out for races and aim the screen at the pilots so they can see it. And then of course Bluetooth, the laptop to the speaker. Speaker was 99 bucks off Amazon. This laptop was at a second-hand electronics store for 150 bucks. I mean, you can source this stuff pretty cheap. I got, this nice Asus here. The battery in standby will last for, ever. And that was 130 bucks off eBay refurbished. So, anyway, so on that screen there.
Lap 2 at 61.349 seconds. job.
Fast lap. If that's a UT, you're doing terrible. That's like my time.
Championship track.
That's about right.
So, and this is the screen that I show on this monitor for the pilots. So right here, it's got overall best lap. So practice round, a heat, whatever. It'll show your best lap here and how you're ranked. Overall race results show here, ranked on your current standing. Everybody. Doesn't matter what round or race you're on. This is the current heat. This is the next heat. This is your race timer.
Whoever uses a competitor that costs money, like Lifetime or any of those, do you guys use that? One guy? Two? This is being developed really fast, and it's free. Just saying.
Yeah,
If you
so
want to spend money, you can send it to James. You might
well, and that's kind
Say
of
that unless you use Lifetime. You can't say that unless you use Lifetime.
What's that?
What you just said. No, we'll talk later.
so, and that's something I forgot to mention in the beginning too, is that, you know, I started this and then I posted some videos on the internet about it, and Chris hit me up and he's like, hey, let's partner up. I'm like, yeah, sure. You know, what do you want out of it? Well, you know, we're drone racers. I'm not going to make $1 million off of this. So, you know, let's just let everybody use it. And so that's where we are.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
And, you know, and I get a lot of input, you know, and I appreciate that. And I get a lot of people using it, and it is still new. And so there's going to be issues. And of course, I'm a programmer, and I know that every time, you know, I push stuff out, there's always the chance of it not working. And so I want to appreciate the community, you know, say that I appreciate the community for using it and giving me feedback, because it's not going to get better without you guys. You know, I can put in, you know, everything I think it needs in the kitchen sink, but until it's really used in scenarios, in every scenario, you know, we don't know how it's going to work. So anyway, like I was saying, this is the race info screen, and then there's a nice little button here. You can import the a race from MultiGP. You put in your email address and your password, and then the race ID you want to put in. The race ID, this is going to, yes?
Okay, so I did a race Sunday, and I accidentally punched in the wrong race ID. So I'm curious, it pulled up somebody else's race.
Yes.
Am I able to manipulate
No.
somebody else's race?
Okay, so good question. So yes, you can put any race ID you want in there.
Okay.
Currently, if you import a race, when that race is done, it's going to send results to MultiGP, whether you want it to or not. That's just the way it does. And it sends every lap to that race. But if you pull a race up that you're not the chapter organizer on, you don't have permissions to do that.
Okay.
So it won't work. And it'll
what I was
error out.
curious.
So.
Hey, Chris, I thought it was kind of a clever idea. I don't know if it'd work or not, but for next year, for like UTVs, do we make a UTV like a unique race ID for the entire year? That way, if any chapter runs the
Yes.
UTV1 or whatever a couple times in the year,
I guess so.
they can put the same number in there. And
Sure, why not?
you guys heard us, it's done.
I really, there's a lot of, I mean, we've got this huge wish list of our software. And right now it's about automating everything, right? Making, LapSync is really smart sometimes, and MultiGP is really dumb, or RaceSync is what we refer to it as. And then, so we're trying to get it to where they're both intelligent, to where they can think independently and then work together. And once we've reached that point, then the idea of saying, hey, I'm running a race. This race is going to be at this location, and it's going to be an official track, which would be a UTT. So then at that point, it would report back, it would allow those times to be approved, instead of you having to do like we do, which is a lot of manual submissions.
Right. And so, and that was kind of my point earlier, that, you know, right now, so this is kind of the system that allows you to run the races and track that lap data. And then MultiGP has where you create the races and stuff like that. Of course, this will do it too, but that's where you create them. So I see in the future that they're both as smart, so that this pushes lap data to MultiGP, and then you have all the data there, and now it's saved forever, so you can, you know, get the same views you get here on multigp.com.
And we've just recently opened it up for James and some of the other programmers to where they could do everything. He can actually create everything locally and then send a race that's been created from his system to our site. So you could create it right there and then push it to MultiGP, or create it in MultiGP and start pushing more information back and forth. Hopefully one day you don't do anything, like we tap into your brain. We know you want to run a race and it just runs it.
Well, I mean, because, I mean, think about it. So, you know, we could do contests, you know, for example, who's got the fastest average lap? You know, you measure a course and you put in if you put in the course length, it'll give you the average speed. So then if everybody's sending laps automatically to multigp.com, you can look at that data and say, what's the pilot and chapter that had the fastest average lap this weekend? Let's hit those guys up and give them something. You know, for instance. Or you could say, what is the chapter that had the most laps this weekend? Oh, hey, Collective RC did 500 laps Saturday. Holy smokes.
Brian was there.
Yeah. But well, no. So yeah, if you miss, so the timing system is there to track times. If it misreads, or you know some such scenario, there's no way to add that time because you know nobody knows what that time is. So the end result. Let me get back around to your question because you can fix that here in a minute. So here's where you put in a race to import from MultiGP. Right now you do it by race ID. The race ID is in the URL of the race. I'm working on a change so you can select a chapter in a race or search a chapter in a race because that didn't work before and that's why I did it this way. But eventually it'll have a chapter in a race so you can just pick one. Anyway, so if I do a get, it's going to pull it in. It's going to tell me that these two pilots don't have transponders on their aircraft in MultiGP. That's just...
And that's in the scannable ID field?
Right. Yeah, the scannable ID... Yes. Yeah. You can add the transponder in here, or you can tell them, hey, dummy, go put it in. And I'll re-pull it, and we're good. I do that.
We try to make everybody keep their stuff updated on MultiGP.
Yeah, then that's more complicated, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
As long as there's something in there, I mean, James will show you.
So now I've pulled the race, so it shows, you know, there's on MultiGP I had created 3 rounds, and these are the heats, the 3 heats.
I don't know if he said that, but round 0 is always your practice.
Yeah, round 0 is always the practice.
So if you're gonna have like intermission, let people go play, just take it back to round 0.
So, and like I was saying, it's smart to know that if you built the race here, then I don't need to send anything to MultiGP. But if you pulled down a race from MultiGP, I'm going to send all the laps and the points. So once you run a race, you know, you can run, I'll show you the options here. You can run, the race types are lap or time. So the standard format's the lap count. And then you can do a timed race where it's whoever to complete the 4 laps. Fastest complete 4 laps would be a time race.
James, you want to run through? Do we want to run through the options screen? Because that's kind of probably the important screen.
So, and then once you select a race type, you can select how do you want to rank those in that race.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
So once you do the race type, now you can do a ranking type. So you can say, I'm going to run a 2-minute race, and I want the winner to be the one that had the most number of laps. So that's number of laps. You can do, I want to have the winner to be ranked by the best lap. So whoever had the best lap. So in a timed race,
I get it. Sorry.
oops. Thank you.
Fly away.
It counted in a bunch.
James wouldn't let me have props on it.
Yeah. Hey, if you're going to plug a battery in and don't have a transmitter on, take the props off. I'm tired of seeing those pictures. Anyway, back to the software. So I'm going to just set this up. You can do, there's different options. I would say that a lot of this is information pulled from MultiGP when you import a race. So for example, the slot type, that's pulled when you import a race. That says how many pilots are in a heat. The track length, that's like I kind of touched on earlier, you put that in there, it'll give you the average speed. Number of rounds. If I was using the software to build a race, I would put how many rounds I want there. Use best, so that's say you're running, and this works with an imported race or not. So say you're running 5 rounds and you want to pull the best 3 rounds and drop their worst 2 rounds. You put that in here, and that's what it'll do. It'll automatically do that. You put in, yeah, that was a feature request. Nobody.
I think a lot of races will love you.
You put in 0 and it uses all.
I don't know if you noticed, but if you hover over it, it'll tell you what it is.
Yeah, it gives a little
So
tip to.
it's just like, go back and hover over the slot type. It shows you all of the...
Yeah, and what channels they are. Of course, if you got a small screen, that might be kind of hard for it to show all those. But anyway. So there's, I don't know if you noticed a while ago, but that fastest group laps. Let me show you that screen again. So in all these screens, there's like that one shows best lap. This one shows fastest lap group is what that says. So that allows you to put in, hey, let me see their fastest 3 laps, or their fastest 2 laps, or their fastest 5 laps, whatever that is. So that's what that number's for.
The one that you guys will be selling? Yeah. No, the new one.
Fastest group laps. So when you're doing a lapped race, there's a second sorting type. So a lapped race, of course, is how many laps you complete in an amount of time. So usually it's 2 minutes, and how many laps can you get done? Well then, since we're using a timing system, we have other data too. We have total race time, and we have fastest lap time. So like kind of Chris hit on earlier, now you can say, well, I want to do a timed race, and I'm going to count his number of laps, and I want the winner to have the fastest lap. Or I want the winner to have the quickest time for his set number of laps. So that way, if you got 2 guys that have 5 laps, now the winner is the guy with the fastest total time, or the guy with the fastest lap. So anyway, I'm going to set this to a timed race with 2 minutes, 120 seconds, and now we're ready to go. You just click start, I think, and it randomly counts down. And like I said, we have a Bluetooth speaker there, so the pilots hear this. I'll say it's, when you hear the tone, go. That's your go.
Transponder has passed the gate.
So I'm not in this race, so it picked me up.
Leader unknown racer lap 17.179.
I'm winning. Don't see that very often. But anyway, so and on that info screen, that I showed you a while ago, it'll have that same countdown timer, so the pilots and the spotters can see if they're looking at it. And then once it gets, I probably should have put 60 seconds in there so we didn't have to wait on the timer. But anyway, once it gets done, and like I said, since this was an imported race, it's automatically sending those laps, except for like that guy, he wasn't on MultiGP. So I send it to MultiGP and it says, I don't know who this guy is, so I'm not going to record it. And then once I get done with the race, it'll automatically submit those lap times, or those lap counts, because that's the kind of race we're running, is the number of laps. So that one guy's got 1, and if he was in the race, it would show on MultiGP as 1 point / lap for that race. Let me let it finish counting down so you can.
So does this also support iLapse transponder?
Yes, it'll do iLapse and TrackMate currently. I'm working on with Team Black Sheep to do their video deal for this weekend, actually.
That's in the options menu. You just
Yeah, I
pick
see that, yeah.
Yeah.
one. And then like James was saying, the TrackMate always sends us a
15,
message.
14,
So we'll always see
13,
it.
12,
The
11,
iLapse, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up. Complete current lap.
So then once the last guy comes in, you just finish the race.
Winner unknown racer 1 laps.
Yeah, I got 1 laps.
And you won.
Yeah, and I won. And I was unknown too. So now say, oh, you know, hey, Derek Spotter comes up and says, hey, I got 5 laps. It didn't pick up none. Well, so now we can go under LapSync and say, I want to submit points. And in the first round, the first heat, Derek Spotter says he got 5. There we go. And I actually, you know what? I got 6 really. There you go. You know, so. And then you hit submit and it'll post those scores. So you don't have to go back and forth between the two. Yeah. So if it worked perfect, then you don't have to do anything. But like I said, if Derek comes up, Derek Spotter, and says, hey, Derek got 5 and it didn't pick him up, so now there's a way to adjust it.
Now fix the transponder.
Yeah. Oh, you talking about on here? Yeah. Okay. Oops. I didn't mean to click submit, but because that was an actual race we ran. But that's all right. I got the data. I'll go back and fix it. So like you said, so if I'm not actually in the race, that's a bigger issue because it'll never send those points because it doesn't know who I am. But if I was in the race on MultiGP and just not in this heat, and I passed through the gate, I ran the race, of course it's grayed out. I don't know why it's grayed out.
Because I think you've already finished it.
Yeah.
You said while it's running.
Yeah, before it starts.
And then,
Yeah.
no, there was.
Let me reset it. So I can reset that. Run me through again there, sir, please. So before you even start, you can have the pilots go through. There's the red X is there. That means they haven't got to read. So before you go start, click start. See, it automatically popped up and said, hey, this guy isn't in the race, but here's who I have for that transponder. Do you want to add him to the race?
So typically, if your question as to if the transponder's in the system, you need to run them through prior to start.
Exactly. I'm not going to add me here. I'm going to edit the pilots.
Yeah, any transponder they have, whether they have multiple.
What's the? Oh, dang it.
I can't see your transponder.
It's 1002. So I'm going to edit him here.
It's got like 5 transponders.
1002.
Yeah, except he's not in the system.
James, you want to clarify the transponder number too?
Yeah, it's, I mean, the,
Yeah, I got a guy that.
nah, not really. I mean, the 4 on there is fine. Oops, that was the wrong button.
That's what the issue that we ran into was that multiple transponders for individuals.
All right, 1002. Okay, now, oh, it went back to practice. Let me pull up the round. So I just went in and edited the pilots and changed Derek's transponder number to that one. Yeah. See, so he turned green. So before you ever click race, you can say, hey, I always tell them, you can test it if you want to. And the way I run races and the way I tell my pilots is the timing system is the rule. If you want to dispute what it says, then you're going to need DVR footage because your equipment and this equipment should work together just like your video, just like your transmitter and receiver. I want to rely on this system. So that way I have accurate times and accurate laps. So you need to make sure your equipment works.
Does this save like the other softwares, like a text file?
Yes, it actually saves, as soon as you click finish, it saves a race with that heat, number, race name, and we'll get to that.
Zero to practice also?
No, the practice you have to save manually.
How do you do
Under file save.
Oh, you can file save. Okay.
Yeah, there's file save race. Race is CSV. So if you want to import it into Excel and do some number crunching, or
Practice. That's what the guys want to run UTT.
right. All right. So this way, and then you can also you can right click before a race and set a pilot name or set a transponder. So like a while ago, you know, when it read that, I could have right clicked on Derek and said set transponder, and it had moved all that information to him.
Did you get the thing with multiple transponders per individual? Sean, he had an issue, he has 5 transponders, but we needed to have those 5 transponders assigned to that certain individual.
The problem is they switch in the middle of the race on them.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, no, not yet. I haven't figured out a way to best go about that.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? And keep the MultiGP site happy too.
So MultiGP needs to let you put them on.
Exactly.
Right. If MultiGP did it, you know, and then I could pull it in and
That was my other question.
Yeah.
Which side is deficient on having the...
so yeah. So you know, and how we do that too. We need to define how we do that. How we do multiple transponders. So anyway, and then once you run all your heats and rounds, you know, you can look at this info screen, or you can look at the results screen. Oh, it's not going to come up because I didn't run it. I reset it. Yeah, let me see if I can start it again. So again, it'll randomly count. There's 2 numbers you can set in the options, a start number and an end number, and it'll randomly pick a number between those 2 to start. So the pilots don't get that where they jump the gun. You know, if they know it's going to be 3, 2, 1, I've seen a lot of guys just take off, you know, 3, 2, 1, they're gone.
Can you make that an option though? I mean, it's like, I personally, my biggest thing about it, I love that. Like, it's like a drag race. You know, at the drag races, it's got lights, 2, and it's 5, 4, and we have music playing. I'll cut the music, and it's just those numbers counting down, and the tension builds up, and then it's got a, you know, so.
Well, yeah, I mean,
have an option to have, instead of just that beat, have the number count down. I mean, I see there's pros and cons to both of them. I personally like the number counting down and using your skill to.
Leader Dorico 140, lap 142.85.
A pilot.
Winner Dorico 141 laps.
Track the lap. Yeah, we'd have to.
you'd have to penalize
We'd
him.
have to have a rule for it.
Yeah.
We had a pilot. We had a pilot.
I know, me too.
We had a pilot slip off the you know, it just slid off the start launch, and he's like, whoa, whoa, and then it went, and everybody went. We haven't had a case where it's been. We had a close call once, and we kind of just.
Well, I've seen it even in the few races I've ran. I've seen people jump the gun. I mean, when you're doing 3, 2, 1, they just anticipate the 1, and so and it's not. We're talking split seconds, but the software is tracking split seconds.
Right.
So I mean, that could be a difference between a winner and a loser.
Every car race you ever go to, it's always less than 5.
I like it count down. I just think I would just.
Yeah, I can do. Right.
In that scenario, 3, 2, 1.
But if it's easy, I like it better. But that's just me.
In that
Can I
scenario.
weigh in on that? I mean, having the dot is, I mean, I always get some false launches, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
So I would like to be able to turn off the preceding tone and just leave it for, hey, on the tone, launch.
It's kind of
So maybe
like
if you
when
could
there's-
choose a template. Right?
Yeah. Right.
I want countdown. I want
Yeah.
random beeps and then.
Yeah, and that's what I could do. Yeah.
No random. And
Just
then
an option, or because like say if it's loud and there's music and stuff, the 2 tones are pretty close. If
Yeah,
your
they're too
speakers
close.
are,
Exactly.
if your speakers.
Well, so a couple of.
back with the goat screen.
That's what I was going to say. I like the goat scream, but boy, I got a lot of flack over that one.
Alright, so
We're sitting there trying to do the live stream, and then all of a sudden I got a goat scream that's going, ah!
How you doing on time?
I'm
How much more longer do you have?
I can stop anytime.
Okay.
How much do I got left?
We're at time now.
Okay, I'll wrap that.
Probably have, a little bit of buffer, but I mean,
Okay, that's fine. I can wrap that.
no, okay.
Yeah, that's fine.
James, in that scenario, so let's say that he uses the countdown in their races, right?
Right.
And somebody jumps the gun, and the rule in their chapter is deduct a lap if you jump the gun, or
Yeah.
you know, like we do here. That would happen when the race is over, when
Right.
you go to the scoring before you finalize. You could just do the deduction. at the
Right,
end,
exactly. You could, yeah, well, just like I added laps, you could take away laps. But yeah, I could look at making it an option. So
And like say to go verbal numbers as opposed to tone.
well,
Or
and
just, like, have it
right, and so
wave files so that you can choose what your tones
yep,
are.
yep.
At least.
So that's kind of
No, I did one like I made it and it was like I searched this like most demonic countdown I could find. It's like farm, but nobody liked it. It was a little too much.
the goat scream, yeah. I liked it, but
Has everybody heard the penalty?
Oh, that's funny.
oh yeah, the penalty part. Oh, well, we got to do that real quick. But before we go there, let me under info. There's wave directory. You open that, and it shows you all the waves right there. That's the countdown waves, and I don't have it yet, but that countdown wave, I'm going to make that a wave. The start tone is a wave.
Okay.
So
You change the file to, and depending on
Right.
the file with the same name,
yeah,
you got the different tone.
right. And I don't have the goat scream on here. I was going to play
Can
it,
you make a
but
little head though, like in the future, and have shit on your goggles?
yeah, I mean, right. Yeah. And then there's a config directory. You open that up and see, here's all those races saved. So if I open it, I hit info and then config directory, and it pulled up all the saved races. So like I said, so that's the name of the race, round 3, heat 3, and the date and time. Those are XML. So I could load. And of course, when you do anything based like that, import a race, load a race, it's going to wipe out everything. So be forewarned.
Say that again?
Yeah. Importing and what?
Oh, I imported the wrong one. If you import a race or load a race, it tells you it's going to overwrite the current race. And that's, yeah, it's going to wipe out everything that's on here.
So if you download the race from MultiGP, and then a bunch of other people put it on extra stuff, then you already download it. It just
But anyway,
Wipes the information.
so let me do this real quick. They're telling me I'm out of time.
So what happens if somebody shows up after you've like
after you've like started the race.
Yeah, like the third round.
Yeah, so you just go in there and add them.
Yeah, but then it's gonna wipe out the first
James,
three rounds.
Yeah.
Is it an option to turn off the verbalization of, lap counts and times and stuff like that?
Yes. Under options or speak.
And that, okay.
Speech,
So you
and you can just turn that off, and it won't say anything. Speak practice laps. So there's race and practice.
Under speech, couldn't you add options for the countdown and to add additional?
Well, not really, because the countdowns and stuff are wave files, and the speech is actually the computer talkie. So, but I am going to make it so that what it says, you can set.
Scully mod?
Come on, man.
But let me.
Get a good one. Get a good one.
Who has more?
Yeah, plug it in and run it through there.
30 seconds.
You got 30 seconds.
Dorico 140.
For a record, just keep going 30 seconds.
Don't hit Chris in the head.
Yeah, it's got a.
Dorico 140, lap 18.2.
I think I don't.
14, 13,
Wait until
12,
it's done.
11.
So I don't know if some of you, I guess, have heard it, but some haven't. It kind of gives the pilot a hard time if he keeps going through the gate after a race. Yes.
2, 1. Time's up.
Dorico
Complete
140,
current
lap
lap.
210.489.
Okay, here we go.
Dorico 140, lap 3 at 13.
Okay, so he finished his last lap. Now go again.
Dorico 140 has already completed the race and should really stop.
Okay, hold on. It gets worse.
Okay, Dorico 140. This is starting to get annoying.
Keep going.
What are you doing, Dave?
Can someone please turn off Dorico 140's transmitter? Can the next racer on channel 5685 please turn on?
Hold on. It said after that, it said maybe this will end as showboating.
Dorico 140, I am saving your transponder number so it can be ignored from now on.
And it does ignore it.
Yeah. So in the next,
Lap 102.
yeah, it actually, yeah. So it'll follow that through the entire race now, and it doesn't actually ignore him. I mean, it tracks everything, but when it says him, it'll say you're on. It makes up random stuff. You're on lap 50 of 5. You're, you know, and then if he finishes first, it says you would have run the race, but I've ignored you, so forget it. So, anyway, yeah.
The check mark, the box multi-GP practice round.
Yeah.
Different from.
So that keeps it out of the scoring.
It's the same as 0.
Yeah. So, well, no. This you could set up a race on Good question. So you could set up, say, 8 rounds on MultiGP. You're going to run 8 rounds, but you want 3 to be practice and 5 to be races.
Okay.
So you just select those rounds and say this is a MultiGP practice. It ignores that in the overall scoring.
As manually per that round.
Yes.
So like you go your 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Uncheck the box.
Or check the box and it'll ignore it.
Right. Yeah, and then uncheck it. You're ready.
We
Yeah.
also set up a practice race where we were doing UTT in San Antonio, and we just set an extraordinarily long timer and just let the guys keep running.
Right.
So it just kept a log of the
That
best
would
lap.
be the same thing as 0.
Yeah. Yep. But I mean, so yeah, so that keeps it ignored from the rest of the scores. So I mean, it's the same as practice, but it's like a managed practice. You're running actual heats for a practice. Okay. All right. Any questions? Getting dirty looks.
Good job.
All right.
Again, so before I go, join the group LapSync. If you haven't done that, MultiGP LapSync on Facebook, and give me your feedback. And then we're giving away that. And if you need any help setting it up, you know, whatever, just hit me up. Facebook.
Good job.
Thanks.
All right, you guys have your raffle tickets? Ticket number 427-164.
Dorico 143 laps.
617-2-1. How's anybody excited? 9. Good job.
All right. Man, Ohio gets everything.
All right, now detonate it.
Yeah, right.
Oh, no.
Hey, Wes, did you fly? Did you fly here? You don't fly.
No, he drove.
I said you flew. That's.
I would open that for TSA.
Hey, so
My intention when I
Yeah.